I never know. Mom, you're already laughing. I never know. Okay, I think we're live. Hello.
Hello. We're back.
We're back. The dog also thinks we're live. And thinks we're talking to her. But that's fine. Welcome to today's live Sippin' with Sharon. Welcome back to Life's Sweet Journey. If you are new here, this is Mom. Mom, say hi.
Hi.
And we are chatting all about group travel today. We used to do our live at 5 Sippin' with Sharon wine tasting chats when we were at the Crimson House. Cheers to the Crimson House. We missed
Here's
you.
Missy.
Here's Missy.
We do miss Crimson House. Oy vey.
Oy vey. Oh, hey, girl. It's Rachel. She says, hi, Mom, and War Eagle.
Hey, War Eagle.
Oh, good. You can tell me, can you hear us? Because I never know if I've got all the audio right. So, but of course, even though we're not doing wine tastings today, we do have our wine. Mom, what are you drinking?
I am drinking Pic pour de Pinet. It's French for Le Petit Frog, the small frog. And it's my go-to box wine. Show the box. It's a little more than grocery store box wine. It's like 30 a box.
Mom's a bougie boxed wine drinker.
Yeah. But you still, it's 4 bottles, and only problem is you don't know how much you've drunk. So, well.
I'm doing good. I'm not supposed to be drinking during the week. During the week I'm not drinking, and then on the weekends then I'll have a glass or two, but it's Sipping with Sharon and
not me.
Not her. Not her. But it's Sipping with Sharon, so I have my wine, but I spruced mine up a little bit because I don't love just wine, and I like to mix. So mine has some Saint Germain and just a dash of orange bitters.
Let me taste it. That's quite good.
It is good.
That is quite good.
If you need a little
Is
wine.
it my wine with that stuff in it?
It's your wine.
Oh.
Use other people's wine. Don't waste your own.
Don't count on that being left after y'all go skiing.
No, probably not.
I meant your elderflower.
Oh, no, don't drink my elderflower.
Okay.
Oh, gosh. Actually, I got this at Whole Foods. It's like a smaller bottle than you get at ABC, and it was only $17. I was very happy. But Saint Germain elderflower liqueur, very good in everything.
And where we're coming from is Morristown, Tennessee.
Oh, yes.
And there's this wonderful liquor store here called T&T Liquors. And if you are a senior citizen, and I think it starts at 55, regardless, I'm plenty old, 10% off.
10% off T&T Liquors. All right. And yes, live and hello from Morristown, Tennessee. But we are actually here to chat about our mother-daughter trip to Israel and Egypt with EO Tours, but more specifically to chat a little bit about group travel. Obviously, no one's really traveling group travel tours right now, but when they do, we actually took our trip February of 2020, so right before the world just kind of stopped. But we were there with a very large group and just figured we'd get on to kind of chat about the pros and cons of group travel, what we loved, what you may need to know if you're considering booking a group travel tour, especially moving. Girl, bring me back some. Yes, ma'am. Especially moving forward with probably what travel will look like in the future. I don't know.
We still don't know. I mean, that still remains to be seen.
It does.
So, and where we can go, and I mean, that's a huge consideration based on where the virus is going to be and not be, and the vaccination, whatever. But let's just address it as if there wasn't a virus.
Let's do it.
How about that?
I love it.
Okay.
So welcome. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. If you're here and watching with us, say hi. Tell us if you have a glass of something fun and yummy and what you're drinking. and let's get to it. So let's start, Mom. What is your favorite pro about group travel?
That everything is planned for you, and especially if it's things that you want to see. Generally, your meals, depending on what you're doing, your meals, at least breakfast and dinner, are scheduled. I've never been involved in group travel where the meals were less than exceptional, and that's a pro. And the accommodations I've had on any group travel trip have been, maybe not 5-star, but they've certainly been well above average.
Okay, that's good. I think for me, and Mom has a lot more experience with group travel than I do. This trip with her was actually my first experience doing any kind of group tour travel outside of just maybe booking a tour one day when we're traveling somewhere. So this was my first experience with a full, you're on a bus, you're riding different places, you're with, 50 people or more. This was my first experience, and she's had quite a few different chances and different ways that it's been done.
Yes.
So it's just good to know that. For me, my favorite thing really was the people. We just went with a few people we knew and met.
That's really my favorite, the people.
Yeah, the people are so, just our group was wonderful in terms of the people we knew going on the tour with us, and then the people that we met while we were there. You just meet a lot of people from a lot of different places, and it's really great connections. Everyone was having fun. So yeah, the people are probably my favorite thing.
And truth be told, I've been on different group travel experiences. I don't think I've ever met a tootie head.
Well, that's good.
I don't think I've ever been on, I'd have to think hard on it to think if I'd encountered someone I really just knew, I don't want to be around this person.
Yeah.
I don't think that's happened to me, which is a good thing.
That's a very good thing. So, all right. What would you say made our group trip different than other group trips that you went on?
The numbers of people and the schedule. It never dawned on me to ask that the schedule was going to be what it was.
Yeah.
To where wake up calls ranged from 2:30 in the morning till latest wake up call was 6:30.
Yeah.
And I'm not a morning person. And there was
naturally, neither am I.
There you go. I was zero. We had zero downtime, except when we got off the bus at night and generally stumbled into dinner and then stumbled into bed. Yeah. And there were places that I desperately wanted to be in longer, like the museum in Egypt. Yeah. The Egyptian Museum. And I asked, and our sweet darling tour guide in Egypt, Sam, it was a safety issue. He was going to have to leave one of the guards on the bus with anybody that was with us. Yeah, this was the trip we're talking about is not your average group travel experience.
Okay, well,
I believe that because of the safety issues with traveling in the Middle East.
Did you ever feel unsafe?
No, I did not.
Neither did I.
But I adhered to the rules. I didn't go off in places that you went off, but not in places that I was worried about you.
Okay.
You went and did your own thing in places that I didn't think anything could happen to you.
Okay.
Unless you fell off the pyramid or whatever that thing you and Cindy climbed up.
That's true.
So.
Yes, but I never felt unsafe. We were going from Israel into Egypt is or well, not from Israel into Egypt, but from wherever we had to cross the border into Egypt, you cannot fly in to where we crossed the border. You have to take a bus to the border and walk all of your things through all of these gates with guards. And thankfully, that part was intimidating, but it wasn't scary. And I was very thankful to have our guides with us. That was one of, I guess, the pros too for going with a tour group is they have a guide specifically taking you through each step of the process of getting across borders. Huge pro. And then we had a guard on our bus with us at all times.
Not just that, in Egypt.
Right.
We had the truckload of soldiers behind us if we were on long stretches of road, which the American government, United States government requires for Americans traveling. Israel is different than Egypt.
Yes,
and that just occurred to me just now.
Right.
That it was a different experience traveling in Egypt.
Yes.
As opposed to Israel.
Yes. I had forgotten all about us, obviously not super paying attention, but I had obviously forgotten about the soldiers we had. They were with us at the border pretty much until we got to the hotel, I think, or to the ship. We got on the ship first. I can't remember, guys. But they were with us for the initial stretch of travel from crossing the border until we got to where we needed to be. But I honestly felt safe enough. Everyone I feel like we met in Egypt, whether we were going into the historical spots or even outside I felt safe enough to where if I was with a small group, maybe a personal guide, or even just trying to kind of do it on our own, I feel like I would have felt safe enough.
Yeah.
Being in Egypt. So, yeah. So safety was never a huge, I never felt unsafe, I guess is the right way to put it. But yes, having those guides, that's a huge pro too of.
Well, and not just that, but their knowledge.
Yes.
Our guide in Israel was a Palestinian Christian. Mm-hmm. And the extra plus of him, Abraham,
mm-hmm.
Okay, was that one night he was so knowledgeable because he has lived through the conflict. And we had a separate meeting with him one night where he gave us a history of it. I'm all about learning when I go to places I'm not familiar with. I'm all about learning everything I can. And both he in Israel and then Sam in Egypt. Sam was an Egyptian and he was a Muslim, but he was an Egyptologist, and his knowledge was just, it was just amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes. And I travel a little differently, which for me, that was not a con necessarily, but for me, that was what made group travel something that it'll probably be a while before I take another big group trip like that. I do love the history, but I kind of like to learn at my own pace.
See, I do too.
Everything is very compacted because they're trying to get all of this history into the amount of time that they have with you. Whereas when I travel, I like to kind of learn a little bit of the history, whether it's with a guidebook or reading plaques, hearing a little bit from someone, but then kind of being able to go off and explore at my own pace the different places I am, whether I'm exploring ruins, whether I'm in a museum, especially because like when Andrew and I travel together, Babe loves reading everything.
See, me too.
Her too.
Babe and I would travel great together.
Yes. And thankfully we travel well together, and so do Andrew and I, because we are fine kind of doing our own thing. She will stay and read plaques forever and be a mile behind me in a museum or somewhere else, and I will be kind of doing more of the interactive things and going and kind of just I love the pictures. I love all the personal things like letters and postcards, anything that shares a personal story. That's what I love to read. Whereas Andrew, he's like, no, just give me the facts and the history, the dates. Those are what I want to read. So you just don't really have the option to do that as easily with a big group, because you are on the bus, you're traveling to another place. And thankfully they're talking and giving you a lot of the back history on the bus.
True. Yeah.
So that when you get there, they can give you the specifics of that spot, but you are off the bus for 15 minutes. So if you really like to do in-depth explorations of places like me, I want to find all the hidden nooks and crannies. I want to get stuck in a tomb. That's what I'm looking for. Whereas she wants to see all the history of the museums.
But like supreme example to me, the two in Egypt was the Egyptian Museum.
Right.
I mean, we got to see the King Tut stuff.
We did.
But then the Holocaust Museum in Israel, I could have been there for 2 days.
I agree.
And we had half a day, something like that.
Not even.
Not
I
even.
think that they were only going to give us, I think, an hour and a half at the
Oh,
Holocaust Museum.
And we did begged and got more.
Yes,
that's right.
We begged, and we basically, I think we had to decide as a group. I think we cut something out. I think we specifically
I think we did. I think you're right.
And that was very sweet of them to do. I mean, they changed a little bit of the schedule to accommodate the fact that our group preferred to stay at the Holocaust Museum longer. And if you do ever get the chance to visit the Holocaust Museum in Israel, it was just, heartbreaking but so full of history, but also so many of those personal items that they've been able to recover, which was shocking to me. The amount of, there was a whole room, I remember, dedicated to families, and you would pull out a drawer and there would be things that they had been able to recover and stories of, how they either survived or not. And so, it was just, I agree, I could have stayed forever. But they were able to kind of accommodate us wanting to stay longer, but it meant we had to cut something else out. And like she said, our time in Israel was a little different because we were there with, our bus had 50 people, right?
Somewhere between
40 to 50 people.
I want to say there were 240 people on the whole, 240 Methodists. From the Florida conference, but which was wonderful. And the group experiences like the garden tomb and things like that were where the communal worship, that was just so awesome. Mm-hmm. But I think there what's 240 divided by 8? I think there were 35 to 40 people on a bus. I'm not.
35 to 40. No, you're probably right.
Well, I know when we were in Egypt, there were 35 of us, and not every seat was filled.
Correct.
Whereas when we were on the Israel bus, every seat was filled.
Yes, which is why I think there was closer to.
So I couldn't lay down and have a nap over countless, because I slept on the bus a lot.
There's a lot of bus sleeping. Yes, I even slept on the bus.
In fact, if you watch the videos, she took a picture of me with my mouth hanging open.
Yep. And it's a good thing I'm the one holding the camera, because I'm sure she could have got me a couple times, but no. Yeah, so if you watch the Israel video, is when Sharon takes Israel is snapping. But so trying to figure out when you're with a group of almost 300 people, totally, they did a really good job. There would basically be 2 buses in a place at one time, and then you would basically kind of be interchanging. So while we were at one spot, 2 other buses would be somewhere else, and then they would come in behind us when we go on to the next place. But it was just a lot. And so you're there with so many people trying to fit in everybody's, desires for what they want to see, how long they want to stay places. And thankfully our group in that moment really all wanted to stay longer at the museum. Whereas if that had not been the case, we probably wouldn't have gotten that time. And I don't think in Israel I stayed on the bus very much. But so that was one of my other, I guess, cons was like she said, the 2:30 a.m. wake up calls, the go, go, go.
Seems like that was more often in Egypt.
So by the time I got to Egypt, which is where I really wanted to see a lot, I mean, I wanted to see a lot of stuff in the Holy Land too, but I was really excited for Egypt. But by the time I was there, I was so exhausted that I just had to stay on the bus at some
And I think that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, I don't need to see another temple or
there
another mosque or whatever.
There was a lot of temples.
Yeah.
It was hard to discern once you saw a couple.
I didn't want to go buy rugs, even though a lot of people did.
Yes, I did not buy rugs.
Yeah, I stayed on the bus definitely more in Egypt and just chilled.
Yes. And that actually is that trip, as that week progressed, more and more people were staying on the bus. So that by the end of the trip, I think half of us half of us were just on the bus, guys.
And then if you watch the Egypt video, what we did.
We rode camels?
Well, we did that, but also one day we had services.
So that would be a tip that I would say if you are going to do a group tour and you're not used to traveling like that, pick one day that the itinerary has something that you're okay missing, because our extension specifically had 3 days on a Nile cruise, and then we were in somewhere in Egypt for the rest of the week.
Cairo, part Aswan, Cairo and Aswan.
For the rest of the week. But the cruise, if I ever go back to Egypt, I will do just a 10-day cruise down the Nile, because it was just so nice. It's similar in the sense that you're traveling, you can sleep while you travel, you can rest up by the pool while the boat's moving to your next destination. But we picked one morning, I think the first or second, the dog is snoring. I think the first or second day that we got there, and we skipped the morning portion of the tour. We stayed on the boat and we enjoyed services. And if you had never had an Egyptian massage,
woo!
Oh my gosh.
Woo!
I now get deep tissue massages here, even though I've been scared of them, because I'm pretty sure I had no muscles or bones left in my body after that service. It was a little strange. If you are going to do the full package, this is a side note, if you're going to do the full package, just be prepared to be very nude and very covered in mud, and have to be okay with someone
scrubbing you down.
Was not prepared for that, but it was part of the package.
Actually, by us doing that, though, do you recall?
Yes.
A lot of other people then signed up.
For the services, and I highly recommend them. And super reasonable.
Yeah.
Like super reasonable price for what you got. I think it was like a 90-minute service with everything they include, and just it was really, really worth it to just rest for one morning and then get back to the go, 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 because I definitely do not travel like that. And it was a lot for me, especially, and I'm someone that, like, when Babe and I travel, we'll be up, go on hikes, we'll be hiking all day. And that to me was less tiring than just the constant go, 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 on the bus, off the bus, this spot, that spot, 5 minutes here, an hour there. It's just a lot to take in. And especially when you're trying to learn everything and listen to everything at the same time. Sometimes I just had to stop listening, because you wear these little things called whispers in your ear.
I've forgotten that's what they're called.
In your ear. Yeah. And it really is like someone's just constantly whispering in your ear, but it's so that everyone can hear without the guide having to shout. And it's perfect the way they do it. I just finally had to take them off after a while, because I also would get strangled in my little headphone wrap. It was just a lot if you're not used to it. And so just make sure that, one, you're aware of also how much activity is involved in, you think that you're on the bus, the majority of the things you do are on the bus, but there was a lot that, like, for you, I know was hard because one, the streets are uneven.
Yeah, well, and that was just something that there's no way I could have known that.
Right.
I have an extra physical issue, separate and apart from being old, whatever. I have permanent vertigo, and there was something I did not do in Egypt because I couldn't get on the boat. I was frightened because of the vertigo. I was going to have to go down real steep stairs, and I just said, I'm not doing this. But it never dawned on me to ask that.
Right.
So it that's,
yeah.
And it was fine.
Yeah, no,
it was fine.
Did great. I mean, I was the youngest person, I think, on the trip by a lot of years.
She was.
Not by it, and yes. Except for there was two. I did meet a friend in Egypt who was close to my age, and it was wonderful. I love Cindy.
Oh, I know.
And Carol, her mom.
Yes.
Just met so many great friends. But I was one of the youngest people by a lot of years, and some of these people were hanging way better than I could. But you just do need to be prepared. I mean, there were people we had on our trip with canes, and the ground is just super uneven. I mean, they're not maintaining ancient roads. And
these places, especially anywhere, are not handicap friendly.
Right. So,
I mean, in Israel, we were crawling down into caves. And, I think most people can handle that, but it was just made it, I had to rely on people. If it wasn't you, if we'd gotten separated, I relied on the people in front or behind me to help me up and down stairs. Carol, Cindy's mom, even I saw when you posted something about the video, she said, I'd love to do this trip again, or I wouldn't mind doing this trip again with that. What if it wasn't so packed full, if you had downtime? I can't remember exactly what she said.
Yeah.
That it would have been maybe more enjoyable if there was some downtime.
Yeah. And ours was unique. There was more downtime in Egypt, I felt.
Oh, yes,
but
there was.
By that point, even though I was resting in the downtime, I was still so tired.
Yeah.
But Israel, for us, was a little different just because we were with so many people, and we were there because the bishop was wanting to take postulates.
Yeah, he had. Those are Catholics. Postulates are Catholics.
Well, whatever. Newly ordained ministers.
I'm having a senior moment. I can't think.
If you're
of the
watching
name.
and you can help us, please tell us what the word is. But newly ordained ministers. So the bishop actually added more to the trip than EO would have actually had in the schedule.
Yeah.
Because he wanted them to see so much if this was going to be their only experience in the Holy Land.
Yeah.
So he packed in and I know they did even more than we did. There was things that they had added to their itinerary.
Correct. They did. Yeah.
But it was just, that made it even more. But I feel like EO I would highly recommend them. That is another pro. They were
absolutely
a great company to go with. They had things down to a science. They had in Israel. So Israel was the main trip. And that's the one that had the 300 almost people. Whereas all the extensions are much smaller groups. So our extension specifically was the Nile cruise and Egypt. Whereas there was a whole nother group that just did mainland, like no cruise and time in Egypt.
And then there was a group that did Jordan.
And so those were much smaller because some people flew home. They didn't do an extension. But when we were with that huge group in Israel, they had our guide, and then we also had
the two little people that found,
the hospitality staff that found Mom when she got lost. Well, no, one of them, Mom actually got lost with her. Mom got a guide lost.
True. Okay.
I'm looking for her. I'm trying to enjoy my time in the upper room, but there's no Mom. She waited 5 extra seconds to get off the bus. And
all was lost. All was lost.
She gone. So then Mom's lost with one of the sweet hospitality staff. I am with the other hospitality staff trying to find Mom so that the bus doesn't leave us in the Holy Land. And
well, they're not ever going to leave you. They're
won't.
counting heads. They're making sure everybody's on the bus.
They do. They count heads every time. It would be hard to miss that Mom's not on the bus. You know, she's a personality. So we found her though. But the Holy Land was a different experience for me.
Well, it was I've never experienced anything like that either. So, let me say this: I would have never done that trip except as part of a group, because I just don't think your average person, unless you're just an enormously experienced traveler, could negotiate all the requirements, all the
that's true.
So
that's very true. Yeah.
You know, I since I knew we were going to do this, I started thinking about the different experiences I've had with either group or self-directed travel.
Mm-hmm.
And did a great trip to Italy with my friend Judy. If you're watching, and that was a great trip and enhanced by our very young Italian guide. But once again, there was a timetable. We had downtime, but you had to be on the bus, off the bus, whatever. And Judy and I were always the last to show up, even though we were always on time. And everybody but Judy and I had traveled together countless times. It was an educational travel thing.
Right.
Good food, good accommodations, but our little guide, I know, got us into places. We did stuff we probably wouldn't have done.
Right.
My other sort of group travel experience was with my husband, her daddy, and we did a bicycle trip through the south of France with one other couple we were good friends with, and it was awesome. We were in B&Bs. My husband got to do his having to work out every day, being on the bike. And there were different routes. And I took the shortest route and went back to the chateau wherever we were staying and drank wine. And so it was all good. And well, we were never on a bus. We were on bikes all day. We had vans that traveled with us.
Right.
And it never bothered me to get in the van. And
I would probably do a trip like that.
I'd do that again. I can't now.
Right.
Because of the stupid vertigo.
Right.
But made friends from that trip that I'm still close to.
Yeah. A smaller group where it's a little more intimate, and you also are, for the most part, you were with people you knew completely, with the exception of a few people, correct?
No, the bike trip, the only people we knew at all were the Longs.
Oh, okay.
And then once again, everybody we met, not a tootie head amongst them.
Good.
There were a couple people that tried to, be the world's greatest cyclists that kind of got on people's nerves, but they were nevertheless nice people.
Well, that's good.
But we stayed in these awesome B&Bs and bicycled through sunflower fields and lavender. It was awesome.
And that's good because, like you said, Dad was able to enjoy his vice, which is he probably cycled.
Oh, don't call it a vice.
Well, no, it's good. Yours. You called it crack. You can't do that.
Oh, that's right. True. Yeah.
It's a vice, or it's not a vice.
It's a good vice.
It's whatever you.
If you have to be addicted to something good, that's it.
Right. Yeah. It is what it is. I don't know the right word for it, but Dad got to enjoy all his working out and all his. He
got to be physical every day,
and you could not be physical if you didn't want to and drink your wine.
There you go.
Your vice.
The thing of it is, I'd keep doing those. I can't anymore because of the vertigo.
Right.
I mean, I can get dizzy just riding my bike down the beach. So
yeah.
But is it okay for me to keep talking?
Sure.
Okay, because at the end of the day, at the end of my travel days, whenever that might be, I did a self-directed trip through Ireland with my cousin Pat Worrell. And at the end of the day, I think that is going to be the best travel that I ever did. Right. She and I are both still saying that because we planned it ourselves, we did it ourselves. And when we got there, we found something that we really wanted to do that we didn't know about beforehand. We rescheduled ourselves, and that thing, which was the School of Falconry in Kong, at the Arthur Guinness Hotel, I forget the name of it, where they filmed The Quiet Man and everything, that ended up being our favorite thing. And that's the thing about self-directed travel. We learned how to drive on the wrong side of the road for us.
She can't even drive on the right side
Shut
of the road.
Shut. Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
Just kidding. You do all right.
That is what I would do again.
Right. But that was not.
It was also 10 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah,
but that was not a group trip. That was.
No.
Yeah. Self-guided.
No. And the thing of it was, I had done that. Daddy and I had done France, but when Pat and I did Ireland, was before I did either Italy or the Holy Land.
Oh, I forgot it was before Italy.
It was.
I knew
it was. And
I knew it was before the Holy Land,
but it was, and sometimes things are just magical. Sometimes they
true.
are, and you just, and you, all of a sudden you realize it was magical, and you're thrilled, and there you go.
Yeah, and that's. Our connection is unstable. I don't know what that means. Hopefully you can still hear us, but it said our connection was unstable.
And that could be where we are in the land that time forgot. It comes across the lake from the mountains, but generally it's okay.
Rachel likes that you that you enjoyed your young Italian guide.
It was cute. It was cute. Yes.
We must have gone away because she said we're back. Thank you. But Mom needed a wine refill anyway, so apparently it was perfect timing. But yes, as much as I am very grateful and thankful, and I think you're right that it was the way you needed to experience something like the Holy Land to be able to get into all the places that you needed to go. I would be probably more so prone to probably not do another big group trip like that for a while. I think it has its place, and I think there were people on our trip who travel like that. That's how they travel.
That's how they travel.
Love group travel. They love, just the kind of bus on and off was just completely fine and normal for them. And so they were used to it. I think now also knowing what to expect from a trip like that, I might like it a little more in terms of being prepared, knowing I'm going to have to get up at 3:00 in the morning and I'm going to be exhausted at the end of the day.
Good for you. I ain't never doing that again.
Nope.
No.
So I may be going someday, but I will be going by myself. Babe will come with me, I'm assuming. But if not, solo I go. Because I won't be solo. It'll be me and 50 other 1,000 people. But yeah, I think self-guided at your own pace travel is more my speed.
I think it might be it. Well, you have to do what's right for you.
Yeah. To each their own. And
absolutely. And in fact, I'm getting ready to go on one of my BFFs that I grew up across the street from. Known her for almost 60 years. Wow. She and I are getting ready to do what we're calling the Great Southern Literary Road Trip. The end of March for 10 days, and we're going all through the South and visiting the birthplaces and homes of various Southern authors, and doing some other things along the way, like the Legacy Museum in Montgomery and Elvis's birthplace in Tupelo, and Vicksburg, Natchez, Oxford, and we're just so excited. But here's a different way, and she proposed this, and I'm glad she did. The older I get, the more the way I like to travel has changed. I used to be happy as a clam going with huge wads of girls. I don't know that that's quite my thing anymore. But Lynn and I are actually, and we're blessed to have the wherewithal to do this. We're getting our own rooms every night wherever we are. We're doing B&Bs and boutique hotels. And because we're going to be in the car all day together, and we love each other, but we might start to get on each other's nerves. We don't know. So she had that suggestion. I said, I am all in, sister. And so, you know,
I think that's smart.
And I think it needs to be said that, make no mistake, group travel is always going to be cheaper, I think.
Yes.
I think unless you're willing to stay in less, you're going to get better accommodations. You're going to have some more guaranteed food experiences.
Another huge pro. I mean, there's I feel like we have talked a lot about the pros, and
yes,
the cons have been more so just not that they're cons necessarily. They're just not our speed.
Exactly.
But like you said, the food that we had on our trip, I was shocked because the only other experience I have had with, it wasn't a group trip, but for our honeymoon, Babe and I went with another couple. Yes, we invited my brother-in-law and his girlfriend on our honeymoon.
Not your average honeymoon.
But we had never been out of the country, and so we felt more comfortable going with people. And we really didn't travel at that point, just the two of us. So apparently now we're just making up for it, doing our tour of the United States, just us. But we hadn't really traveled by ourselves that often. We really liked traveling with other people. But our only experience with something out of the country was our trip to Greece, which was also really wonderful. But the food was all right. But I feel like our food on this trip with a bigger amount of people, and they really set us up with just some incredible places and authentic places too, which I loved. Yes,
I agree.
I felt like we had, because I prefer that. The reason I like to travel at my own pace is I also feel like I get to kind of spend time in a place, choosing to do more authentic cultural experiences in terms of food and dining and all of that. So I think they just did a really good job of setting that up for us. Whereas I think maybe in Greece, we were on the boat most of the time, and I had talked up cruising because I had also been the only one at that point that had been on a cruise, but it was an American cruise. And so I was just talking up all the endless food, and that was not the case in Greece, and the food was just, it's all right, but it was just food. So whereas in this case, like she said, I think she's right. I was shocked with our accommodations that we got into our first hotel, and I'm like, how are we here?
Yeah. And
I'm
actually
shocked.
The very best, the Mac Daddy Hotel was the last one we were in when we flew out. Remember, was that Cairo?
I don't know. I don't remember where I was most of the time.
If it's Tuesday, this must be Belgium. You're not old enough to remember that movie.
I don't know what she's talking about.
Travel movie from the 70s.
From the 70s. I was not alive in
Maybe
the 70s.
In the 60s.
I do like older movies, but I was not alive in the 70s. So, but I think that's it. We covered everything that you feel like helps unpack the trip.
Absolutely.
I guess one other thing I would say, if you are planning a trip specifically to the Holy Land, I think you need to go in with not open eyes necessarily, but I think both of us, this was Mom's bucket list trip. She wanted to go to the Holy Land. Dad had no desire to do that, so she asked if I would travel with her, and I I'm not going to turn down a trip anywhere, even though it was not necessarily a bucket list item for me. I was like, I'd love to go and just see the stories that you picture when you read the Bible, and and it's not as much that when you're there. I feel like I got more of that unpacking it, like what I experienced and what I saw when I got back. But you are you're walking through the places that the way they describe it to you, there's traditional places, and there's, what was the other word?
Known historic. There are legendary places,
right,
and known historically provable places.
Right. So there are some that it's like, we believe that this would have been where this takes place.
Yeah.
And then there are some that historians and then people who've researched the Bible can specifically say, Jesus was here. These are, the spots that he was, but then this modern city has been built around it. So then trying to picture what you've read in the Bible with the modern city that's kind of bustling around you. And then during the Renaissance, when did the church, so basically the Greek churches, Catholic churches,
the Orthodox
churches, I can't remember, but these were holy sites. So their thought is, this is a holy site, let's build a huge church. And they're beautiful churches, but like the birthplace of Jesus, which they believe to have been the place that he would have been born, you're picturing a stable, right? In your head. Jesus was born in a stable at the inn, but instead you go into this church, beautiful, like I said, big, beautiful church. You crawl down in this tiny little room, and you have 2 seconds, and there's guards like pushing you out if you take more than 2 seconds. Because you have to get down on your hands and knees, put your head, I'm assuming similar to the Blarney Stone, put your head in this little grate, remember?
Yeah.
Put our head in a grate and look through a hole. And then you're just supposed to kind of touch it.
Yeah.
And believe that that's where he was born. And the significance of that is huge, to think that, like, I stood in the place that Jesus was born. But when you're there in the moment and there's people behind you and there's people in front of you and you're trying to figure out what you're even looking at, it's hard to really picture in the moment. So just know that if you're planning a trip to do the Holy Land experience, be prepared for
absolutely
for that.
Yeah. And what you were trying to say a minute ago was the fact that the early church, when they discovered these areas, they built these gorgeous,
beautiful
cathedrals, churches, whatever, over these historic sites. And they're fabulous in their architecture and whatever in and of itself.
Yeah.
But yes, the really significant places are little tiny, like she said, you have to crawl down in and look at them, and it's hard. And like the Via Dolorosa, where, our precious God in Israel said, now he was very solemn and, wanted to impress on us that we were getting ready to walk at least a portion of what it was believed that Jesus walked carrying the cross. And so I'm getting off the bus and I'm like, oh, wow, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then it's not, and other people, people I know, were able to feel that better than I could.
Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't have a Roll Tide stall on the Via Dolorosa. It was. I have a picture.
And I mean, granted, Mom's an Auburn fan, so that was even more jarring for her. But you are walking through the points of the cross. You're walking through basically a mall,
a market.
Sorts, a market. And there's the little stalls,
and they're trying to sell you stuff.
They're trying to sell things, and they were very respectful. Like it wasn't, I felt like at other markets where they were really where it could be really pushy.
The pushy places were in Egypt.
That's true. But you're still surrounded by people just doing their daily shopping, going out and getting things. So it's just a lot to try and shut out what's around you to really experience what you're hoping to be these kind of holy connections and moments. So just know that if you're making a trip to the Holy Land, and maybe you'll be like the other people that were able to do that, because there were times when you really could kind of sense the significance of it, even in the moment. But it just made there was more of that for me when I got back.
Yeah.
More significance for me getting back, realizing where I was and the things that I experienced. So,
true.
What? Will?
Who else? Is somebody else on besides Rachel?
Yeah, there's 11 people on.
Really?
Yeah.
But nobody's commenting?
No. Comment.
What's wrong with y'all? Come on.
Mom would like
I
to
guarantee you, y'all, I don't know who it is because I don't have my glasses on.
We can't see who it is unless they comment. So, explaining technology. We know that there's people in, 9 people.
Okay.
We cannot see who's here unless they comment.
Okay.
So, but
thank you for watching anyway.
Thank you for watching. We enjoyed having you. We hope this was helpful. Do you have any questions before we sign off about group travel? Oh, Kathy Collins! Kathy!
What the duck? I love it!
So, no, not Will. I don't know what Will who? But
Will?
Mm-hmm.
Someone named Will?
Someone named Will.
Is this Will Loper?
I don't know.
If it's Will Loper, say so.
Just say yes if that's you. Thank you, Kathy. Kathy was one of the wonderful people on our trip in Israel. Go Purple Group.
And came from Kansas City. Wasn't it Kathy? I think Kansas. Oh, help me. We miss you, and in our dreams we kiss you.
But Kathy was wonderful. Another super big pro, which I know we discussed, but we did not know her. She came as a connection from someone we did know, and she was just such a great addition and someone I'm so glad to have met. And huge pro of group travel is you do meet just so many incredible people. She rode a camel in Israel, and it was quite the highlight of my trip was watching her ride that camel. So that was just out.
That's right. I'd forgotten that people rode camels in Israel.
Yes. We
didn't ride until Egypt.
We waited because we knew we were going to ride at the pyramids and didn't want to. Loper, it is.
Will Loper, what in the world? Yay!
And I will tell her she can't read them.
What is he saying?
Well, just say cheers. And say,
cheers!
Say, these are the only ones you're going to see. Ta-da! But love you too. And we are just excited and thankful for everyone that came and joined us. And
we are.
We hope that soon you can decide for yourself if you want to take a group trip or plan your own solo adventure somewhere and be able to experience more travel in the future.
You can't tune in next Tuesday to Live at 5 because the Snow Blues will be in Colorado.
Yes, we'll be skiing. Cheers, I can't wait to see you, girl. Cheers, Rachel.
Rachel, I want to see you too next time I'm in New Smyrna.
Mom will come visit you before I can. But yes,
perhaps
we will be in Breckenridge in a week. And if you're looking to plan a ski trip right now, shocked by the Breckenridge deals. So just saying. It's a date.
Great travel trip. Rachel says it's a date?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Rachel. No, you'll still be, I don't know. Oh, now we have the cat. The
cat and the dog don't get along. The cat just came by and hissed at the dog.
Okay, we might converge on New Smyrna at the same time.
Probably.
Because I get home and I have to be in Orlando for a while, and then you get home, and then, yeah. Rachel, Thursday night, ladies' night at the Crimson House, we're there.
It's a good idea. That's a good idea. I've not been back to the Crimson
Not
House.
this Thursday night, but I think things are rocking. I think they're rocking.
Yeah, I think so. But no, not this Thursday night. I will not be there. Neither will you.
No, we'll plan it. No, we're not going to be there.
Mom's giving all of where we'll be at certain times completely, not that anyone's wanting to know where we are at certain times, but you're not supposed to on the media.
Oh, I know you're not. That's right.
They're going to find
In case
you.
somebody is going to come and break into your house. Well, they don't have bricks and mortar,
We don't
so
have
it
a
doesn't
house.
matter.
You can't come find us.
Right, I know. I didn't mean to do
It's
that.
fine, Mom. Oh, Will's coming to Thursday Night Ladies. See, you told Will, and now Will's coming. Come along, Will. You are welcome to come to Ladies
You
Night.
come pay for my wine, sap digger. Okay.
I don't even know what she just said. I'm just gonna bless.
What is that? Okay, can't read.
In the house.
What?
It's out. Mom can't read the comments, but
Well, I've taken my glasses off, so I
You
look a little
probably
more
still-
attractive.
you look very attractive, Mom. Still look attractive, even with your glasses. But we are going to sign off, and we thank you.
Thank you for watching.
Have a great night, everybody. Cheers. Hold on, not gone yet.